Yep. Just finishing up. Yeah, I'm gonna stop to get something to eat. You want anything? Yes, I know I work at a diner. No, you know I can't bring food home. Yeah. The word you're looking for is cheap, Debbie. They're cheap. I don't know. Anything sound good to you? Yeah. Oh. Oh, she did? Really? Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah. Yeah, no, I've just been so worried about my work being so hard on her that, yeah, no, thank you for remembering to tell me. I'm not saying you don't remember anything, Debbie. How about Chinese? Okay, good. Yeah, no, I know what you like. Yep, I'll see you in a bit. Bye. Debbie said when Katie was saying her prayers tonight, she prayed that I would know how proud she is of me. Oh, dear God, that just kills me. What does she have to be proud of me for? I feel like a total failure. I'm working all the time. We're living with my sister. She doesn't even know her father. I don't deserve her. I don't deserve her love. Come to think of it, I don't deserve your love either. Just help me receive it. Oh God, help me receive it. It's everything to me. It's life. Nothing else matters. I can do this job. I don't care what the owners think. I care what you think. I care what Katie thinks, and she's proud. She's proud of me. I could work for Attila the Hun if Katie was proud of me. Come to think of it, I kind of do work for Attila the Hun. Right. You love me. She's proud of me. It's gonna be okay. It's enough. It's enough. Okay. Gotta get the Kung Pao chicken.
If you have your Bible, will you open up and read with me in Genesis chapter 16, starting in verse 7? The angel of the Lord found her by a spring of water in the wilderness, the spring on the way to Shur. And he said, Hagar, servant of Sarah, where have you come from and where are you going? She said, I am fleeing from my mistress Sarah. The angel of the Lord said to her, Return to your mistress and submit to her. The angel of the Lord also said to her, I will surely multiply your offspring so that they cannot be numbered for multitude. And the angel of the Lord said to her, Behold, you are pregnant, and you will bear a son, and you will call his name Ishmael, because the Lord has listened to your affliction. He will be a wild donkey of a man. His hand will be against everyone, and everyone's hand against him, and he shall dwell over against all his kinsmen. So she called the name of the Lord who spoke to her, You are a God of seeing. For she said, Truly, here I have seen him who looks at me. In the name of Jesus. That is so good. God sees Hagar the same way that he sees you. Not after she says the right thing, not after she says a certain prayer, not after she joins this right small group or wears the right clothes or reaches a certain weight. God sees Hagar just because he wants to. God sees Hagar in the midst of her pain because he is so deeply tethered and tied to us. He knows what we are feeling. He knows what we are thinking. He sees her pain in the wilderness and grieves with her. He shows up. He sees her. He speaks to her. Hagar's pain is attached to him. He comes to us simply because we hurt. And he shows himself to us. Now, I have to read you the original translation, the Hebrew translation that Hagar is saying here. As she says, you are a God of seeing in verse 13. And then she says, truly, I have seen him who looks at me, who sees me, depending on your translation. The original Hebrew language and context asks this as a question. And I love this. It means that Hagar literally said, did I see the backside of God? This is what she says. She doesn't get it right. She doesn't say it just perfect. She just says, wait a minute. Did I just see God? But not just the front of God, the back of God. Did I see all the way around? Did I see the tender place, the vulnerable place? Did I see this intimate God? Oh, I love this. Because in that moment, Hagar got the gospel. Hagar knew the gospel. She gets it. She understands in this moment of seeing the backside of God, or even feeling as though she's seen by God at all. She gets that God simultaneously sees everything, everyone. He is sovereign and holy and just and powerful over the whole world, and also sees her. This slave girl, this foreigner, this woman who'd been oppressed and marginalized and used, he sees her right there. He is the God who sees. And in that moment, she knows that she is free, regardless of what does or does not change in her external circumstance. Inside, she is free. Sister, I want this for us so much. This freedom, this grace, this gospel that Hagar knew, this good news that Jesus has come to set our heart free. We don't have to be fearful of man. We don't have to be ashamed of our past. We can know that he comes to us right in our pain, not when we clean ourselves up, not when we say the right thing. He comes to us just because we hurt, because he wants to. Where are you hiding out? Where are you fearful? God sees you. Draw near. Draw near.
Have you ever felt unnoticed or just overlooked? I don't know if you were maybe the wallflower, the quiet one in high school or college. Maybe you're introverted or shy. Maybe you are the unfavored child, the one that everybody kind of just says, oh, they'll be okay. It is not a good feeling to feel like everyone else is more important than who you are. But I have got good news for you. God created us to be noticed. He created us to be seen. And we get to see, as the story of Hagar wraps up, that even in the times of her feeling insignificant, God saw her. I want you to look at Genesis chapter 16, verses 13 and 14. It says, so she called the name of the Lord who spoke to her. You are a God of seeing. For she said, truly here I have seen him who looks after me. Therefore, the well was called Bir Lahai Roi. Here at the end of Rahab, we see the first time that God is called El Roi. It means the God who sees. What a precious privilege for a woman who felt insignificant to now be seen. We see God meeting her in a place so that she knows that she has not been overlooked. Oh, to be seen by God. I remember being a young girl trying to catch the attention of a certain guy when I was in high school. A lot of us went through that season trying to flirt or do whatever we could to try to catch the attention of our crush. And sometimes it worked, but a lot of times it didn't. And a lot of times in our early years, sometimes even in our adult life, we just felt like no matter what we did, nobody paid attention. But we've got Hagar here, not a church girl. She didn't have a great religious resume, but she is a child of God. She introduces us to El Roi. Nothing you do, good or bad, surprises God, makes him love you less, and he will never overlook you just because of how you see yourself. And it's a good thing because this is the God who seeks us out. A lot of times I think when we struggle with insignificance or even sin, we're just not having a good day, a good season. We think that God is not pleased with our lives. Our first tendency is to run and hide. Even back in the garden, when Adam and Eve failed God and they disobeyed, they hid from him. And the first thing he did was call out to them. He said, "Where are you? Just because you've sinned and you've broken my heart, and yes, you've disappointed me, and yes, there are going to be consequences, but one of the consequences is not distance. I still want to see you. I want to know where you are. I want you to draw near to me." And so I want to tell you today, girlfriend, that if you think that your life and your choices and your insignificance and whatever is going on with you creates a barrier between you and God, that is just not the truth. When you mess up, that's when you draw near to him. That's when you go to church. That's when you call for prayer. That's when you let your friends know what's going on. God never wants us to hide from him. Even in our low moments, even when life is not great, he seeks us out. He's the God who sees. He doesn't turn his head and look the other way. He's not going to be disappointed just because you failed. There's going to be consequences, but intimacy is never the cost of what's going on in your life. So it is a beautiful thing to be seen by God. I mean, that's the attention that you want. That's the eye you want to catch. You want Jehovah to stop and say, "I notice you. I'm keeping the planets in rotation. I've got the earth moving. I've got galaxies that you've never seen, all working on a 24-hour schedule, but I see you. I notice you." That's the attention that we want. But being seen by God, being found by him, is not a guarantee that life is going to end in a fairy tale. Very often, we think that when God comes to us and when he is drawn to us and he seeks us out, he's going to give us the answer we've been waiting for. But the truth is, the answer is him. It's his presence. That alone is enough. Sometimes God gives you the job and he sees your needs, so he provides, but the job is not perfect. And you'll find yourself complaining about the thing that God has given you. Sometimes he gives you the marriage and there's no happy ending. There's no fairy tale. It's hard. Sometimes God finds you and you start asking yourself, how did I end up here? Where am I? Is this even my life? And God is saying, yes, and I see it. And I know it's not what you planned, but I'm still with you. I am El Roi. Nothing catches me by surprise. There is not a moment of your life that God misses. You have to choose to trust him. So that means you might not get the apology. They might not ever come to you and sit down and say, "I'm sorry." And let me tell you something, even if you got it, it's not going to do what you think it's going to do. It doesn't make you feel better. It doesn't erase the pain. There's no explanation that a person can give you that makes you say, "Oh, the trauma was all worth it." So save your energy. And you're probably not going to ever see them get what they're due. You might not ever witness what God does to them or what God allows in their life. You might not ever know if God took vengeance on your behalf. You've got to trust him. Psalm 22 is a psalm that I cling to a lot. If you're like me, trusting God is easier said than done. I have teeny tiny microscopic control issues. And sometimes I don't want to trust God. I kind of want to help him out because I think I'm really good at it. But then I have to go to Psalm 22. And I remember this: when I delight in the Lord will deliver and rescue. Can you just think about that for a second? That my deliverance is actually dependent upon my delight in God. That is because, newsflash, the deliverance is not the fixing of your situation. The deliverance is finding intimacy with God. He's saying, if you delight in me and find joy, whether I fix it and rearrange it and work my God magic, it won't even matter anymore because you will have true delight. And that's what we're looking for, right? That search for significance, that wanting to feel important. God says, when you delight in me, I'll pour value into you. I'll pour love into you. I'll show you you're noticed. I'll tell you that you're seen, that you're never overlooked. And then all of a sudden, you realize that what you've been searching for has been in God all along. And so he may fix your situation. He may right all the wrongs. He may not. But the deliverance, it comes from the delight. So you may be thinking, okay, Jada, so I've got this God that I should be delighting in and trusting, and he's my hope and he's my healer. He's all of these great things, but I don't see my life getting any better. Well, I can't promise you that it's going to have a happily ever after. I can't promise you a happy ending. I can't tell you how things are going to work themselves out. I can just tell you that you will never be alone, that God will always know what's happening in your life. And he won't be a distant observer. He'll be a participant. And even when it hurts, God is there for you. If you're like me and you like to not only have control, you want to know how everything's going to work out, days, weeks, months, years from now, you might be a journaler, a planner, like everything all scheduled out. I'm sorry, you may not see the end of the road. God probably is not going to tell you what he has planned for you, because then how many of us would even do it? He probably won't reveal everything that's going to happen, how everything is going to work itself out. And that's hard. But you've got to know that even when you don't see the end, how it's going to wrap up and if it's going to have a nice, neat bow on it, you've got to believe that God knows exactly what he's doing. That's what hope means. It means that I trust even before I see that God sees me. What a beautiful thing to be seen by God. Listen, the next time you feel ignored, the next time you feel overlooked, if you feel like you're in a constant fight for someone to say you matter, I've got something better for you. God says you matter. There's not any person on this earth, regardless of their relationship, their power, or their position, whose words mean more than those of Jehovah God. This is El Roi. In the dark, when no one's watching, when no one's listening, when no one is responding to your text, when no one shows up after you've called everyone, this is the God who sees you. He's El Roi. And guess what? It gets even better. Because hope says there's more in store. Hope says things that you can't figure out, things you would have never known to ask for, he has planned for you. There's one more thing in Hagar's story that I don't want you to miss. We see the sign of God's hope. We see a glimpse of what is to come. If you look in Genesis chapter 16, verse 7, it says, the angel of the Lord found her by a spring of water in the wilderness, the spring on the way to shore. Now, this is no coincidence that in a desert, the Lord finds Hagar by a spring. In a dry place, he finds her by a rare source of water. Even in your driest place, God will place you by a spring of water. He'll put you by a well in the place you least expected it. You could not find a well in the wilderness if somebody paid you. But God, the God who sees, he will happen to place you in the right spot and give you a promise of what is to come. I want you to be encouraged that God always knows what's happening in your life. He's never surprised. Trust God to see even the things that you can't. And if the story doesn't have a neat bow, doesn't have a happy ending, know that hope is greater than the happy ending.